Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine, hiding behind all of these Jethro Tull Super Deluxe Edition box sets. And I've been asked to do these, and I've promised to do these so many times and not got round to it, but now I am. I'm going to start with them in the order of the album's original release, because trying to do it from the time when the box sets arrived is just too confusing for me. Also, I'm not going to elaborate too much on what I think of the albums and how I rate them or rank them in the world of Jethro Tull. I'll kind of touch on that every so often, but this really is, to keep these videos nice and succinct, is just about this series of deluxe sets, which, as many of you know, I feel is the best and ultimate format for displaying and collecting together everything you would possibly want to know about a classic album. And I just wish that other labels and bands had looked at this. And I know I've said that so many times. Imagine Zeppelin, yes, Genesis. Anyway, enough of that. We're going to start with This Was, which is 1968's really a nice little blues band, as Jethro Tull were then, and not the kind of prog thing they became. And I came late to the Jethro Tull party. I had a few albums in the 70s, but it wasn't really until the 90s, when I started collecting the normal CDs, that I started to realise just how varied and far-reaching their music was. So let's dive straight in to This Was. So here we go with the Jethro Tull set of videos looking at the deluxe editions, going from the order of the albums being released officially rather than the order of the box sets being reissued, because it's just simpler that way. So this was Jethro Tull, the 50th anniversary edition, the original 1968 album remixed to stereo and 4.1 surround by Steven Wilson, includes unreleased recordings and alternative mixes. And these box sets, those of you who have them will just love them. And I'll probably say this so many times that people will just fall asleep, but this format for classic legacy albums is just the best, is it not? And if some of you are thinking, oh well, it's because there's so many discs, you could do this with a single or 2 CD set if you really wanted to. And some, imagine it for the recent video I did in rock, that could have been one of these with that book in the middle. Anyway, here we go. So this is just fantastic. You sit down and you can listen to the music, but you can also sit down and just enjoy the book, because these books are just colossal. And the amount of archive material and detail that's gone into these, so you'll see when I go through things like Wild Child, if there's a string quartet, there's a feature on the string quartet. It's everything, cover design, everything. You've got the Steven Wilson remix, you've got associated recordings, further associated recordings, original album mixes. It's just incredible. There is just no stone left unturned on this. And then the amount of detail is just amazing. And again, you can tell this is like if you bought a book on this album, you would buy it. And it actually comes with discs. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. The memorabilia, the story, the detail. No one's thought, oh, that'll do. We've only got till Friday. Someone's obviously, they've gone through it and thought, no, we need to research that. Let's find out more about that. And everything about him standing on one leg and why, how it came about. It's just brilliant. And the fact that, Ian just loves talking about this. Some artists don't want to talk about the past. It's gone. It's over. But not with these. And I do feel that with each one, they've become more elaborate as you go along. But you've got, it goes to Ian Anderson, this section here. Well, look how many pages we're in. He now goes through every single track, looking back at them, every single one. It's just fantastic. It's just brilliant. And then you've got the lyrics. Of course, you've got the lyrics. I mean, the band at this stage were a blues phenomenon, as obviously in the late 60s, the blues boom was everywhere. And obviously Jethro Tull leapt onto that, but also went further as well. And then you've got a section about Steven Wilson mixing this for surround, which must have been a bit of a challenge, because you're thinking of how primitive the recording was, and it was a blues album. And then you got looking back at the class of '68 when they met up again. Lots of great tracks, the Vinyl Reckoning, all the different labels. You know, if you're into this stuff, and again the stereo mixes, more artwork and covers, and then you've got a chronological look at all the gigs they played during this period, every single date. It's just for a fan, family tree. What more could you want? A view from clouds, because again, this is like looking back who was supporting them, who else was around at the time. It's just everything you can think of. Island Records, who remembers these samplers? Perhaps I should do a video on this Island samplers as well, because I've got all of them. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And again, stuff about clouds, who could have been, you know, one of the first prog bands ever as well. And then Derek Lawrence looks back at the early production stuff he was involved in. And at the back, you've got the last 2 discs. So Jethro Tull, this really is, for fans of rock music, this series is essential. So that's a look inside. This was the Super Deluxe edition for Jethro Tull from 1968. It's absolutely brilliant. They all are absolutely fantastic. And Stephen Wilson has just sprinkled his magic on all of these. His remixes just breathe life into these albums, but without detracting from the original feel of the fantastic music that we all know and love. So, part 2 of the Jethro Tull series will actually be not that one. I can't see from where I am. It will be, in fact, Stand Up, which is an amazing box set. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for ringing that little bell. Thank you for all your words of encouragement. It's just great running this channel and talking to you all. So stay safe, keep spinning those records, and I should see you on my next video.